Who am I? Who am I? I'm the Captain Freezknot, and this is Captain's Album Collection, Metal Edition, for Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. Now, if it's true that you can only trust yourself in the first 6 Sabbath albums, then we are coming in hot, just under the wire, because tonight's album is Black Sabbath's 5th studio album, Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, released in December of 1973, which is also the month and year I was born. Most stoners would say Masters of Reality or Volume 4, or hell, most rock fans, hard rock fans, would pick between Paranoid and the self-titled album, the first two, if they were going to be asked or pressed for which is the best Black Sabbath album. Now, that's saying a lot, especially out of the first 6 albums, as just mentioned. How are you going to find a best within that, with each album topping the one before it? But if you ask me, the Captain Freezknot, the greatest Black Sabbath album, for the reason that I am displaying it for you here tonight, or sharing it with you here tonight, is Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. Now, don't get me wrong, the self-titled debut is fantastic. Paranoid is even better, the follow-up. And Masters of Reality may be the favorite. It may be the fan pick. I think you could get a lot of people to agree that the band had hit sort of a peak at that point. They were right in the pocket, as I like to say, and doing their best work for Masters of Reality and then Volume 4. And like I said, you wouldn't get much of an argument from most fans of Black Sabbath, or from me for the most part. But Sabbath Bloody Sabbath is a record that started off kind of rough for the band and then eventually became another level of their signature sound, a level that most people associate with the downfall of the group and maybe the rise of synthesizers and other orchestration and other instruments that maybe didn't belong in heavy metal, hard rock, or what this album birthed. And that was a true format, a blueprint, a mold, if you would, for stoner rock. This is the first stoner rock album. Sabbath had already definitely established that they were going to be a dark group. But this record is stony, specifically stony. It's very stoner orientated. It has lots of new sounds that Sabbath explored, and I think explored successfully. And we'll go into more of that. But for right now, light up and smoke them if you got them, because this is a stony one. It's the first track off Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, self-titled Sabbath Bloody Sabbath.
The
That was Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, the first track off the album Sabbath Bloody Sabbath by Black Sabbath, released in December of 1973, and you're listening to the Captain's album collection. Following their 1972-73 world tour in support of their album Volume 4, the group went right to work on their next album, first by returning to Los Angeles, where they recorded their previous and most successful album, Volume 4, at the Record Plant Studios. The band rented a house in Bel Air and began writing in the summer of 73, but due in part to substance abuse and fatigue, they were unable to get anything going or complete any songs. Ideas weren't coming out the way they were in Volume 4, and we really got discontent, guitarist and songwriter Tony Iommi said. Everybody was just sitting around waiting for me to come up with something. I just couldn't think of anything, and if I didn't come up with anything, then nobody would do anything. The band was definitely exhausted, absolutely and completely, said bassist Geezer Butler in Mojo magazine in 2013. Tony collapsed at the end of the Hollywood Bowl show, and everybody was doing way too much coke. So obviously the group wasn't very focused. It also didn't help that when they returned to the Record Plant Studios where they had recorded Volume 4, all the equipment that they had used previously at the record plant had been replaced by a giant synthesizer by Stevie Wonder, who had recently recorded a couple albums there. So basically, it's Stevie Wonder's fault. Stevie Wonder is responsible for synthesizers and keyboards sneaking their way into Black Sabbath. After a month of trying to record some stuff in Los Angeles the way they did for Volume 4, the album just before this, with no results, the band opted to return to the UK, where they rented Clearwell Castle in the Forest of Dean in England, in which the likes of Led Zeppelin, Mott the Hoople, and Deep Purple had written and recorded there. The medieval surroundings may have revitalized the band musically, but it also left a sinister impression. We rehearsed in the dungeons, and it was really creepy, but it had some atmospheric qualities and conjured up some things. Stuff started to come out again, said Tony Iommi. He was working in the dungeon when he stumbled on the main riff to the song we just heard, Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, which set the tone for the new material. And basically, with that, they were back. The spooky atmosphere at Clearwell Castle perfectly complemented the band's practice of playing practical jokes on one another as well. So when you're having fun, then you're going to do better work too. And even though they weren't so much the Lords of Darkness as they were the Lords of Chicken Shit, when they would play these pranks on each other in this totally spooky old castle, Bill Ward, the drummer, typically got the worst of it anyway. But it brought their spirits back, and it brought their sense of humor back, and it brought Sabbath back. The next track on the album is A National Acrobat, and it's definitely one of the main reasons that I credit this record with being a true early, if not first official, stoner rock album all the way around. See, the song A National Acrobat is a dictionary definition of the stoner rock model and format. If you are a fan of stoner rock the way I am, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about as soon as we play it. This is A National Acrobat, the official stoner rock song. If you want to know how to do stoner rock, listen to this.
I am the world that
That was a National Acrobat, the second song off Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, and a song that I think really kicks off the entire stoner rock genre and sound. It is formatted perfectly with that rolling forward movement that desert stoner rock bouncy kind of vibe that most stoner rock, modern stoner rock has. It all started with Sabbath. And as far as I'm concerned, you can pinpoint it to that song. Building on the stylistic changes introduced on Volume 4, new songs incorporated synthesizers, strings, keyboards, and more complex arrangements. Tony Iommi experimented with sitar and bagpipes in the studio and was not able to master those instruments to his satisfaction, but they definitely worked in as many different world instruments as they could. The title tracks, Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, led into an expansive set as Geezer Butler, who writes the lyrics, contemplated the mysteries of birth and DNA. In the song we just heard, A National Acrobat, respectively, A National Acrobat was just him thinking about who selects what sperm gets through to the egg. Geezer Butler explained in the liner notes to Reunion, the Black Sabbath Reunion album released in 1998, that Spiral Architect was about life's experiences being added to a person's DNA to create a unique individual. He used to get very contemplative on certain substances, and he still does, even though he doesn't need to use the substances to do that. The initial riff for the song we just heard, the stoner rock template, if you will, A National Acrobat, was written by Butler, to which the guitarist, Tony Iommi, added bits to it. Geezer can write some great stuff too. According to the book, How Black Was Our Sabbath, the band invited an orchestra to come play on Spiral Architect, but couldn't cram all the musicians and their instruments into the small space of Morgan Studios. They ended up at the nearby Pi Studios, just a ways down the road, with Ozzy trying to explain what he wanted him to play like some sort of mad conductor on drugs. He had no written music to give the orchestra. He just hummed the part, and they picked it up. Osborne has said that A Sabbath Bloody Sabbath was the beginning of the end for Black Sabbath's original lineup. In a 2003 interview, the singer elaborated to Mojo, Sabbath Bloody Sabbath was really the album after which I should have said goodbye on my own, because after that I really started unraveling. Then we ended up falling out of favor with each other and had lots of arguments fueled by rampant drug and alcohol use within the band. Tensions began to mount. Iommi began to resent doing the lion's share of the songwriting and studio work, thus having no social life. And bassist Butler also began complaining that vocalist Ozzy Osbourne had become too reliant on him for his lyrics. Now, with that said, and I mean no disrespect to Ozzy, I can't just write off the last three Ozzy Osbourne Sabbath albums like apparently the rest of the world and even the group did. Because unlike everyone else, I guess I liked it when Black Sabbath started to play outside of the Sabbath box. Me and my friend Nick actually had a term for it. We used to refer to it as when Sabbath starts to get weird. But that was a positive thing. We liked that. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with the format that Sabbath created. The stoner rock doom sound that is Sabbath is incredible, and I could listen to it all day and all night, and sometimes do. But albums like Sabotage, Technical Ecstasy, and Never Say Die may not have done as well as far as sales compared to the first three or four records. But the creativity and expanded Sabbath universe that is created on those last three albums before Ozzy's departure is incredibly enjoyable for me. And I don't quite understand why true hardcore fans of Sabbath feel that those records are a decline. I mean, I can understand why maybe a record label executive or something, someone who was making money off that situation, cared about that fact. But those albums did not sell as well as the first Sabbath albums. It doesn't change the sonic quality of some of those songs. And one of those songs that I'm speaking of is our next track. It's an instrumental called Fluff. Tony Iommi's exploration into instrumental interludes is a part of that musical exploration and expansion that I love so much about Sabbath. The instrumental was named after BBC radio disc jockey Alan Fluff Freeman. Freeman was one of the only few radio personalities in Britain to play Sabbath's music on air. That was the third track off the album Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, an instrumental called Fluff. Great instrumentals on this album, like the ones that Iommi had done on the two previous records, Masters of Reality and Volume 4. Iommi was definitely maturing in his composition and songwriting, and some of those little instrumental interludes are the best example of that. Black Sabbath released Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath on December 1st, 1973. And for the first time in their careers, the band began to receive favorable reviews in the mainstream press. Rolling Stone called the album an extraordinarily gripping affair and nothing less than a complete success. The album marked the band's fifth consecutive platinum-selling album in the United States. It also reached number 4 on the UK charts, doing well both here and across the pond. The album would go on to be regarded in high esteem by the band members themselves. When asked by Guitar Magazine in 1994 which songs he would like to see on the upcoming Black Sabbath box set, Geezer Butler replied probably anything off Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath. The song Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath itself. It was a whole new era for us. We felt really open on that album. It was a great atmosphere, a good time, great coke, just like a new birth for us. We had done the first 4 albums and done it our way, that way. Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath was like part 2 of your life. It was a weird feeling, a good feeling. In his memoir, Iommi calls the album the pinnacle. And the song Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, along with the album, has been singled out and praised by many hard rock and heavy metal guitar players. From Slash, from Guns N' Roses, to Brent Hind of Mastodon, and Kirk Hammett of Metallica. The last 2 tracks I want to play for you tonight are some of the weirder ones, some of the songs that kind of go one direction for a while and then completely sound like another song. But that's exactly what I like about them. Sabra Cadabra and Spiral Architect, the last track on the album that we've been referring to quite a bit tonight. So that's going to do it for the stoner rock album, the Sabbath album that was born the same month and year that I was. An album that created the stoner rock DNA, and an album that's better than people even know. Black Sabbath's Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath. Thanks for joining me here on the Captain's Album Collection. See you next time.